Hello friends, welcome to Krishna's Academy. Today we are going to start a new chapter which is plant anatomy. We will divide this chapter into several lectures and today the first lecture is meristematic tissue. But before starting the meristematic tissue, we give a quick review of some general terms which are useful for the plant anatomy. The first question or the term is, what is plant anatomy? We can describe it the branch which deals with the study of the internal structure and organization of the plant. The structure of the leaves, the structure of the stem, the structure of the root, all these. It is also called as internal morphology, means internal structure of the plant. And as you know, the plant body is made up of the different type of the tissues, and the study of the tissue is called as the histology. Histology, the branch which deals with the study of the tissues. Now the next question, what is tissue? The group of the cells which deals with the cells which are similar in origin, structure, development and function. Means tissue is the group of the cell which is similar in origin, structure, development and function. And the term tissue was firstly coined by N. Grew, and he is also honored as the father of plant anatomy. So these are some important part in the introduction which are regularly asked in the competitive exams. Now, the types of the plant tissue. In the plant, all the tissues are categorized firstly into two main groups. The first one is meristematic tissue. Second is permanent tissue. Meristematic tissue is again divided into different category on the basis of different criteria. We will discuss today in upcoming lecture. But the permanent tissue is again divided into the simple permanent tissue and complex permanent tissue. Simple permanent tissue is again divided into parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma, and complex permanent tissue is divided in xylem and phloem. This is a broad idea about the classification of the different type of the tissues which are present in the plant body. Now we start today's topic, meristematic tissue. Meristematic tissue and their cells show some specific characteristics. And what are these characteristics? The first one, this is the living tissue. The cells of this tissue are living. Most important property which is not the characteristic feature of the permanent tissue is cells have ability of division. They can divide regularly. Next, isodiametric cells. Isodiametric cells means the cells are of same size. Next characteristic, spherical, oval, polygonal and elliptical in shape. This is for the shape of the cell. Generally they are polygonal. Next, intercellular spaces are absent or very small. Very small. Generally these are absent. Another important feature is vacuoles are absent. Vacuole is the characteristic feature of the matured plant cells which get differentiated to perform a specific function. As you know, the more than 90% of the cell volume is occupied by a large central vacuole, which is the characteristic feature of the plant cell. These vacuoles are absent in animal cells. Next, thin cellulosic primary cell wall. In the living cell, only the primary cell wall is present, which is made up of the cellulose, and it is thin as compared to the dead tissue in which the secondary wall is also present. Due to the absence of the vacuole, centric nucleus means Nucleus is situated in the center of the cell. In the permanent tissue, we will discuss the eccentric nucleus. It is due to the presence of the central vacuole in the matured plant cell. That's why the nucleus and the cytoplasm or the protoplasm get shift towards the periphery. This condition is called as the eccentric. But here the vacuoles are absent. That's why centric nucleus is the characteristic feature of the meristematic cell. Now next feature, ergastic materials are absent. What are ergastic material? Waste material. These are the metabolites which are formed during the different metabolic process and not useful for the plant body. Such material are called as the ergastic material. And as the cell get mature, these ergastic material get deposited or stored inside the vacuoles. So these are the young cells, regularly dividing cells. That's why ergastic material are formed very little and they get distributed in the newly dividing cells again and again. So ergastic material are nearly absent. Next 2 points are correlated: high oxygen consumption and the high oxygen cytokinin. The cells which divide regularly, they show high oxygen and cytokinin content because these two hormones are responsible for the cell division, growth and enlargement. And the metabolic rate is high. That's why the oxygen requirement is also high. Now, here the TS of the meristematic tissue. The cells are polygonal as you show in this diagram. Nucleus is present in the center. This is the nucleus. It is surrounded by the layer of the cytoplasm and the cell wall is cellulosic primary cell wall. Cellulosic primary cell wall is present, and in diagram the intercellular spaces are absent. So these are the some important characteristic feature of the meristematic tissue. I think all are very clear to all. Now, the next topic is types of the meristematic tissue. There are several criteria to categorize the meristematic tissue, but we will discuss only two main important criteria. The first one, on the basis of the origin, when it is formed, how it is formed. The condition, basis of the origin. And there are two main types: the primary meristematic tissue and the secondary meristematic tissue. Primary meristematic tissue develops from the embryonic meristem. Some part of the embryonic meristem remain continued to the main plant body, and this will form the primary meristem. Example, apical meristem, which are present on the tips of the root and the stem and their branches. Intercalary meristem, which is present on the nodes region. It is also called as the nodal meristem. We will discuss it in the further lecture on the basis of the position. And the intrafascicular or the fascicular cambium. The cambium which is present inside the vascular bundle. And as you know, the vascular bundles in which the cambium is present, they will called in the other lectures as a open type of the vascular bundles, and this is the characteristic feature of the dicot plants. The second one is secondary meristematic tissue. What is the property of the secondary meristematic tissue and how it will originate? It develops from permanent tissue after regaining of the capacity of division. This process is called as de-differentiation. You have already studied it as a G0 phase, temporary G0 phase during the cell cycle, in which the cell cycle will stop and the cell will enter in the G0 phase. But on the requirement of the plant body, some cells again re-enter in the cell cycle after the de-differentiation and they become meristematic. Now, examples are interfascicular cambium, cork cambium and the wound meristem. In this given diagram, all the different type of the meristematic tissue on the basis of the origin they are shown. This is the core cambium which develops from the cortical cells. This is the interfascicular cambium which is present between the two vascular bundle. That's why it is called as interfascicular. Fascicle means bundle. And the intrafascicular cambium which is present inside the vascular bundle. This is the xylem and this is the phloem. So between the xylem and phloem, the intrafascicular or the fascicular cambium is present. Now, the most important one in the plant anatomy are three different terms. The first one is differentiation, the second is de-differentiation, and the third one is redifferentiation. These are most important one on the basis of the different type of the exams. Number one, primary meristem. We will discuss above. Examples are apical meristem, intercalary meristem, fascicular or intrafascicular meristem या cambium. When the primary meristem loses the capacity of division and it gets modified to perform a specific function, the process is called as differentiation. Differentiation will lead in the formation of the primary permanent tissue. Primary permanent tissue, and they get specialized to perform the specific function. The examples are parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma, primary xylem, and primary phloem. But as you know, the secondary meristem, it is formed by the de-differentiation. Which type of the de-differentiation? The living cells of the primary permanent tissue get de-differentiate, means the differentiation become reverse. It become again meristematic and form the secondary meristem. Examples are core cambium. Technically it is called as phallogen. We will discuss during the secondary growth rate. And the interfascicular cambium. These are the secondary meristem जो we will discuss above in the example of the secondary meristem also. Now the next important term is the redifferentiation. Secondary meristem divides, and after some divisions they also loses the capacity of the division and get differentiate to perform the specific function. Such type of the permanent tissue are called as the secondary permanent tissue. Core cambium or the phallum, secondary cortex or the phalloderm, secondary xylem and secondary phloem. Where the secondary word is used, these are the secondary permanent tissue. And note, this is very important, that dead tissue will not de-differentiate. For example, sclerenchyma, dead elements of the xylem and the phloem. The main example of the tissue which get de-differentiate is parenchymatous tissue, because the cells are living and they are complete. All the living cell and complete cell have the capacity to form the secondary meristem, and this property is also used in the tissue culture. De-differentiation is the most important step of the tissue culture. Now, the next criteria, on the basis of the position. On the basis of the position, the meristem is classified in three main groups. The first one is apical meristem, because it is present on the apical part or the apices of the branches also. Second is intercalary meristem or interstitial meristem. It is also called as nodal meristem. Why it is called as intercalary? Because it is present between the permanent tissue, intercalated form. Interstitial is also means the in between, and the nodal meristem because it is present on the nodes of the stem, and the node is present between the two internodes, and the internodes are made up of the permanent tissue. The third one is the lateral meristem, which is present in the lateral sides of the plant body. This is the longitudinal section in which they form in the form of the two strips, but they are present in a circular structure after the secondary growth in case of the dicot stem. Cambium is generally absent in monocot stem and root. This is the most important statement. Now next, one by one. Apical meristem increases the length or the height of the plant. Okay. Apical meristem increases the length or the height of the plant. Height, which plants grow vertically, and the length generally in those plants in which they runs horizontally, or the branches, lateral branches of the root and the stem also. If we remove the apical meristem or the apices of the stem, the branch will not grow, the growth will stop. Now the next one, intercalary meristem, as we discussed, it is present between the permanent tissue on the nodes. That's why it is also called as the nodal meristem. Intercalary meristem or the nodal meristem is found in monocot and increase the height of the plant by increasing the length of the internode, even removal of the apical meristem. Suppose that this is a monocot stem, sugarcane, this is the apex. If we remove the apex of this stem, the nodal meristem start to grow and they increase the internodal length. And when the length of internode will increase, then the length of the whole stem or the branch will increase. Now, another important factor regarding the intercalary meristem. Intercalary meristem plays an important role in the grazing plants as it helps to plant regenerate after the grazing. Regularly asked question in the different competitive exam. Which tissue helps in the grazing plants to regenerate themselves? Options may be apical meristem, lateral meristem, intercalary meristem, secondary meristem. So answer will be the intercalary meristem. Now, lateral meristem is found in the dicot mainly and increase the girth of the diameter of the stem and the roots during the secondary growth. This is the main property of the lateral meristem. In the primary growth or during the primary growth, the size of the vascular bundle get increased. But during the secondary growth, the girth of the stem or the root will increase. It gives the mechanical support because during the secondary growth, the high amount of the secondary xylem is formed, which give the mechanical strength to the plant. All the tall trees, they show the thin stem in their young stage, but as they grow, year passes, the thickness or the diameter of the stem get increased regularly, and the secondary xylem get converted in the form of the wood. Now, the last topic of this one, meristematic tissue. Function of the meristem. This is the topic. Growth and development, it divides and differentiates regularly. That's why it helps in the growth and the development. Formation of the different plant parts like the new branches, leaves, flower, etc. These are also found by the apical meristem, or they may form the axillary meristem in the form of the axillary buds and in the form of the floral buds. So floral bud formation and axillary bud formation, this is all the function of the meristematic tissue. Whenever the injury takes place in the plant body, a wound will generate, and the healing of the wound is the another important feature. And which type of the meristem will help in wound healing? It is named as the wound meristem. Next function, regeneration. As we discussed, intercalary meristem helps in the regeneration of the plant. Tropic movements. The different type of the tropic movements are shown by the plants. It is due to the growth, and the growth is due to the meristematic tissue. For example, phototropic movement, geotropic movement, chemotropic movement, all these are the example. And the most important in the anatomy, formation of the secondary meristem. ठीक है, सेकेंड मेरिस्टेम भी इसका एक पार्ट होता है. फॉर्मेशन ऑफ द सेकेंडरी मेरिस्टेम, ये प्राइमरी से ही फॉर्म होगा. इट इज फॉर्म बाय द प्राइमरी मेरिस्टेम. Primary meristem get first differentiate into the permanent tissue and again it get convert into the secondary meristem. So today's topic is complete here, where we study about the meristematic tissue. I think you will enjoy it and it will be useful for your exams. In last, we request you to like this channel, subscribe it and share it with many as people as possible. Thank you to all.